Thanks for staying with us. We'll now go to the press and see what the headlines are this morning. And we're being joined by Toluwase Olaniyan, Executive Director, Ego Foundation. Good morning, Toluwase, and welcome to the program. Can you hear me, Tolu? Yeah.
Good morning. Thanks for having me this morning.
Okay. We'll start with the business NG this morning. CBN under pressure as BDC deadline expires, threaten 3 million jobs. That's the leading headline on business NG. Only 5% BDC comply to deadline. Remember that the CBN has told the Bureau de Change operators that they have to recapitalize and have a lot of money before they can continue and get their licenses, ranging from 500 million and above. So I'd like you to comment on that if you have a comment.
I mean, so in my opinion, I think that the CBN should take the right action, take the action that should be taken around the BDCs, right? And the honest truth is, let's do whatever needs to be done one time for all, so that we move past this part of conversation, right? The word threaten in that report, I really do not buy it, because you to threaten people around the system. The rules are the rules, the regulations are the regulations. So if compliance should be made, nobody's training anybody's job. Nothing is training anybody's job.
No. I think what that means is that if these people are not able to meet the target, the people under their employ will lose their jobs, because if these BDCs are out of operation,
yes,
the people they employed will be out of the job. So it's not really threatening CBN or so. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, so that it threatens the job of the BDC, right? And I'm saying that the people who work in the BDCs, and this is what I'm saying, that no pressure, nobody's putting anybody under pressure. So the threatening in that path, to me, sounds like some people might lose their job. Again, I hate to say what should happen, right? But the honest truth is, we cannot go around, and this conversation has been on for way over a year, all right? And I think what CBN should do what they have to do, and we can just move past this conversations.
Okay. Cooking gas now is skyrocketing. 12.5 kg cooking gas hits 20,268 as prices surge nearly 10% month on month. We've been encouraged not to use firewood. We've been encouraged not to use anything else, but to use the clean gases that we have been using to cook. And then now people cannot afford it. But I'd like to hear your view.
So someone said this to me a few days ago and said that, can you see petrol price currently coming down? So this might also affect other products, right? Other petroleum products. And when I say that, I know Nigerians, for one thing, we adapt and we can readapt. Nigerians will easily just go back to firewood or find a coping mechanism. Our coping mechanism game is really high. However, I think that it's a bit unfair to the common man, because 12.5 hitting 20,000. I mean, we used to buy 12.5 for about 5,000 naira. About 2 years ago. Now, it hitting 20,000 now means that a lot of people cannot afford it. So it means, when you go fill your gas, you see people bring 1 kg, 2 kg, because they cannot afford that much, right? So how do you expect them to feed now? Cost of food has gone up. Cost of cooking the food now has gone up. Maybe we start marathon fasting now or start dry fasting. But Nigerians would easily cope. Maybe not with the price. Maybe switching some other things. I also want to see this part, but I think that the government needs to really look into this part and find how daily home use commodities can actually be subsidized, right? So we can't say some things are, some things are not. We're not mature for some things in Nigeria at this time, right? So find the best way to have it subsidized in a way that it would make life easier for the common man would be a really good one. And now is not the time to say, oh, we're giving cooking gas for free to 10,000 homes. Now is not the time, right? A lasting solution around this, and I mean, because homes and families have planned their income around. They plan their expenses around their basic income, right? So how do you expect them to walk through this? A home that the income is just 70,000, which is the new minimum wage. Some people have not even started paying. So what do you expect? And I don't think that this cooking gas thing is even largely in the urban areas. I'm sure people in the rural areas still use their firewood. Maybe in the urban areas will start using firewood, so all of us will be on the same page.
Yeah, even if they use firewood or not, I think the other alternative is to use charcoal. And if you're using charcoal, it means someone somewhere is burning wood for you to be able to buy the charcoal that you will use for your charcoal stove. So it's a dicey situation. Well, on Nature News this morning, Nigeria to start processing cocoa for export. That's according to the Vice President Shetima. I think it's long overdue, but I don't know if this is lip service or not. But cocoa, we've been producing cocoa for a very long time. Ibadan was known for that. We even have a cocoa house. If you go to Cross River State, the whole of Central District and part of the Northern Central District is cocoa. And every bit of this is exported out of this country. So this is what the Vice President is saying. I don't know what you feel about it.
In my opinion, these conversations are then very important, right? And that's why I'm really very excited about what the media is doing. We need to begin to amplify whatever the government have said at different points in time, so that they can be held accountable for these things, right? So we can come back in another. We come back in another 6 months and say, okay, so the cocoa conversation we had was the upgrade. I don't think it's a new process, and I don't think it's a big deal. I think we already have, like you rightly said, there's cocoa house in Ibadan, a really energetic house in Ibadan. And some other cities across the south and southwest, so other states in the south and southwest are very big on cocoa production. So I don't think that this is supposed to be a big deal. I mean, I was sitting along the coastal line yesterday, and I saw some vessels with containers moving, and in my head I thought that, oh, would this be cocoa moving out of Nigeria? Would this be firewood? Would this be rubber moving outside Nigeria? I think this is long overdue, and I think that beyond it being lip service, we should also begin to hold the government accountable for most of this thing that is saying by re-echoing it, re-emphasizing it, and putting it out there that they've said it, just like we're doing now, that they've said it, and be hopeful that it would come to fusion. But I think that with this that the president has just said, I think we're largely also moving towards agriculture, because we're not sure how sustainable oil will be. So I think we're largely moving towards agriculture. But yeah, so I'm hopeful that this will work well and this will work fine.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you said we just re-echo, put these things out there, even though we know that they will not. They may not even affect them. Do they even think about what we are saying? For instance, a simple but very funny example is that we went to COP27 or so and announced that the whole of Nigeria will have 100 buses, that we are doing so much. The president said we were doing so much. Till now, we've not seen the buses. We are seeing only rice palliatives going from place to place and all that. And then 2 years into the administration of the president, Ahmed Tinubu, all the people are doing is not talking about whether he's achieving his campaign promises, but they're talking about endorsing him for 2027, which is 2 years away from now. So I don't know if the people are really listened to, or we just talk and then it just passes, they do what they want to do. What else can we do to make sure these people are accountable to us? They answer to us, they tell us what they have been doing, and we hold them by the jugular and make sure that they do what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, thanks a lot. The most interesting part is that we, the populace, are also, we're not part of the problem, right? And I say we're not part of the problem because, you see, a lot of time, you see these endorsements, is also valid because we amplify the endorsement, right? We act like we see the endorsement. We behave like this endorsement actually means something, right? If we do not talk about the endorsement, we do not talk about we do not talk about the sites of what 2027 look like, and we insist on asking questions, I think things will get better, right? But you know how media works. They see that, oh, we are actually concerned and we're talking about 2027. And I see some platforms and press platforms and media agencies now begin to make comparative analysis. And you know how the media works generally. Comparative analysis of what has, of candidates. Now this validates and it puts the candidates that has been endorsed a lot more in the faces of people. I think that what we should also then focus on will be daily highlighting the issues, the campaign promises, and begin to ask questions. I think there should be general voice and front where we're able to ask questions. The government will not create or set up platform or will not enable platforms that will help us ask questions. They will not. When we, as a populace, as media, as analysts, show them agree on platforms where we're able to ask questions. Now, what the government has, what systems also do is to ensure that they distract us, even also using media. They would go and then create platforms where questions around re-elections are being asked. No. Let's create platforms where topical issues are being discussed. One like this, and when people are able to ask and say what is, right? If we give lesser attention to the things that they are talking about, maybe they will give more attention to the things that we are talking about, right? Lesser things about what they say, is it true, and then focus on what we think, right? What we want to ask them, and continually push this forward. I know some things, right? Maybe not to be able to say on national TV, but I know some things that Nigerians have stood their ground on and has remained because Nigerians stood their grounds on it, and it did not change. And I think that we can do more, we can do better.
Okay, consistency is the key in all that you have said.
Consistency.
Yeah. Okay, but a troubling one. Let's go. It was still on Nature News now. Over 200 died in Mokwa. Minister discloses cause of devastating flood. The writer is saying flood looms in 1,248 Nigerian towns, Abuja, 33 states within high-risk zones. That's according to the NIHSA. When I was reading that report, what struck me that I didn't like, apart from other things that he said that might be very good, but what struck me was that the people were warned, still they didn't do what they were supposed to do. Now this warning was like, okay, there are going to be floods in Mokwa local government, for instance, that was captured as well, and the people were supposed to move and they didn't move. That was what the minister said, even though he later said that the state should have relocated these people and all that. But I don't know. Now the people who have died are now being blamed for the disaster that occurred in Mokwa. But I'd like you to say something about the flood in Mokwa that has claimed, officially it is 200, but we know that the reports are also saying that over 1,000 people are still unaccounted for. So out of this number, we don't know how many of them died or how many of them just ran away from the flood and cannot be accounted for.
Okay, so the honest truth is my deep condolence and sympathy to the families. Well, I mean, hopefully that some families have not just been wiped out, but condolences to the states on the loss of these lives. But I think that we can do better as a system and as a government, right? We cannot put blames on citizens. The state is responsible for the lives of these people, right? One thing I would say, and you know this, right? Housing is a big issue in Nigeria. So asking them to move, and it's not a big issue in big cities, it's a big issue across across the country and asking people to move the time is also a tough one, because where do they move to? How do they continue? I mean, and you know that moving, yeah, there was a whole lot, right? So how do you start your business? What are the things that are being put in place, right? So this is not just an individual decision that can be made, right? It's a statewide conversation, right? And if you relocate them, what are like the things being put in place, right? So I think we can do better. We should do better in terms of disaster management, which starts from pre-disaster management. We start from preventive, right? Preventive disaster management is key. How will these things not happen? If it happens, how will it not claim the life? I've been victim of flooding. I mean, a couple of times. I think a lot of people know with pictures, and I know what this means, right? I know what it means to be able to. You can leave your house and say you're going elsewhere. Where are you going to? Where are you going to? You can move the house, right? But if there are like options, if there are like other things that have been made for moving, people will definitely move. So I think we need to do better. We can't blame people. We can't say people want to die. No, they want to leave. People want to do better if they have the chance and the opportunity to, right? And I think that as we get into rainy season, other states need to learn from this and say, you know what, these are the things that we need to do. Yes, as humans, sometimes it's also very tough to move into all of these things, right? I don't want to use the word, a particular word, but sometimes it's tough to manage humans, right? But enforce these things that would enforce the laws, the rules and regulations that will lead to the prevention of things like this. And that's why I said preventive disaster management should be well put in place, right? So now this has happened in Mokwa. I think that what there needs to be done is to ensure that it doesn't happen again, and that the people, hopefully we have families who need this relocation, who would not stay there anymore. I think that is then very important to make adequate arrangement for these people and these communities. Again, my condolences to the states and to the families who've lost loved ones.
Yeah, I agree with you. Even just this morning, there's news that 7 bodies of children have been discovered as the search continues. We don't know how many more will be discovered. There was also a story of a man who said in his entire family, they were just sleeping, and when they discovered that water was entering their house, and when they saw that the volume was getting too high, they held hands, he and his wife and his children. But as the floods came, it wiped away everybody apart from him. He was able to stand because he held on stronger to a particular thing, but couldn't hold his entire family. So his entire family was wiped off. But we also have heard stories from the IDP camps now, after relocating these people after the flood, that people come there, take pictures with them with food, but they end up not having this food. And one woman even said there were 17 in her household, maybe children, cousins, nephews, anybody, 17 of them. Guess what? They gave them 1 loaf of bread and some tea. That's what she reported. And they were asking for more and all that. So we don't know what is really happening. On the one hand, if government says that, okay, we are coming with relief materials, they end up not giving these people. Maybe the government will budget that money, release the money, but some people are pocketing it and all. I don't know when we can get to the point where people will be accountable for what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, I mean, so I laugh because I've heard that story multiple times, right? On both sides. The people in the IDP camp sometimes have commercialized it and say, okay, thank God we're now here now. We're now government children. The government would totally take care of us and take care of our lives. And the most that are being done, a lot of times they make it seem they say it's not enough, right? And every government officials that are coming around will still not do what is needed. However, I think that the government should also come out plain and then make an adequate report. I think there should be a system, particularly around the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, clearly accounting for the welfare of these people, right? So let the people know, just so that other organizations, maybe like mine, who will throw in support can know where to throw in support, right? The level of untruthfulness in the country is high, and at different levels, which is pretty sad, right? And it's on both sides, both the side of the citizens and the side of the government. But I think that the more we come out to be accountable and to say the truth, the more help and support we would get in and around and all of this. I've been to a few IDP camps, and to be very honest, I see this firsthand too, not even for pictures, but to be able to give relief materials, and there are coordinators there. I mean, I wouldn't say the things that happen on public TV, and also even the people do not even take the patients, and before you know, something very little that you want to give to few people have been dragged and go on the floor. I mean, and a lot of messy things, but I think that we can have this thing a bit more structured, a bit more accountable.
Yeah.
And I think we can do better in the IDP camps. I think we can do better in the IDP camps.
Yeah, I think so too. We can do better. It's just that people are given to believing these stories because at one point, for instance, we saw when trailer loads of trailers, not even just one, were donated to a particular state as palliative because we have become a rice palliative nation. And then a government official siphoned these things, went to somewhere else, was rebagging them, and then selling to the people that were supposed to be given free. We saw that story, and it was a true story. We've also seen where the humanitarian minister said that they're using AI to identify the vulnerable people in the villages and all that. It was a very laughable thing. But this is where we have to draw the curtain this morning. We'd like to thank you, Toluwase, for coming on the show this morning and helping us make sense of some of the headlines. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah. Well, Toluwase Olaninyo is the executive director of Ego Foundation, and he was x-raying some of the headlines that made it to the front pages of our national dailies. We'll take a very brief break, and when we return, we'll be discussing business confidence as it dips in May amid power and security woes. Stay with us.